Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy, Golden Falls, Golden What If, whatever you want to call me, and I'm back. And yes, your screen does not lie. It is a Demon Slayer What If, but it's a little bit different. It is a little bit different. Me and my homie Crown Fiend, I'm sure y'all know him, we chatted a little bit about Demon Slayer What Ifs, and he gave me a ton of ideas to do, and he also made this nice thumbnail for me, so shout out to him for doing that. As always, he's part of the community, my friend group. We're all homies. We've been doing this for a long time now, and a lot of the stuff you see that it goes on and ideas that I come up with, I definitely talk to him about it here and there, so we're definitely pretty up to date with things that are going on. But with that said, this is a movie, and this is What If Nezuko was the reincarnation of Kaguya. And y'all know who that is if you know Naruto, and it's going to be a little bit different. This is going to be definitely a little bit different because we're not following Tanjiro necessarily. We're following Nezuko. So with that said, let's get right into the what if. Let's get it. It all starts just on a normal day. Nezuko is helping around the house and doing what an amazing daughter would be doing, an amazing sister, big and little sister would be doing. She'd be doing maintenance around the house or helping out with cooking and so on and so forth. Her amazing brother Tanjiro would be working as hard as he always is, and this would eventually lead him to go into the town to sell some coal. Nezuko would offer help, but Tanjiro would make it clear that he has it all covered, that he's going to go sell some coal to the village or charcoal to the village and come back and they'll have an amazing new year. Nezuko would smile and watch as her brother would leave, but she would have no idea what would happen next. No idea what would truly occur. It was as if in a flash, as if that one night everything began to crush, to die, and everything around her began to burn. The smell of blood would consume everything around, and she would watch as her family would be slaughtered, murdered by a being moving faster than she can possibly imagine. This being would then walk over toward Nezuko, and then, well, everything would go dark. Everything would change. The being would be gone, and Nezuko would be sitting in utter darkness. But she's not just in utter darkness. A voice would come out, and it was as if this ray of light would hit the area. But the light wasn't normal sunlight. It was kind of this white light. This glowing white light. A creature, no, a person? She has no idea. Would stand in front of Nezuko, but at the same time would be this warming embrace, as if this thing was a ghost. But it wasn't a ghost. It was real, standing right in front of her. This woman would begin to speak in a calm voice, introducing herself. But as she introduces herself, it feels as if the voice would intertwine with Nezuko's voice. The name that was spewed out of the woman's voice was not actually the name of the woman. It's as if it was clouded by the name of Nezuko, as if they were one. Nezuko would be confused and ask the woman once again what's happening, and the woman would explain that they are one, that there's a presence, a giant presence going on currently, something that murdered not only her family but also is trying to change her, make her different, make her become something that she cannot denounce. She does not know what it is, but she tells her that power is within her, power of the unimaginable, power that she does not understand and maybe will never understand, but at the same time, she will soon be able to control this power and be able to utilize it quicker than she can possibly imagine. She would be able to utilize this power, this strength. But the woman that stands in front of Nezuko tells her that it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be different. When she wakes up, it's all going to be different. Her eyes will feel as if they're falling out, but at the same time, she will feel in this euphoria. She'll feel in a state of hypertension. Everything will be different. as if she's emerged in a cloud, as if she doesn't know what's truly happening. But to not be afraid. Trust the people around her, because the people around her are what is most sacred. As Nezuko is hearing this, it's as if someone else is now more or less saying these things in her head. She's been out cold for so long. Well, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, that's a long time, right? Maybe a day? Nezuko, still engulfed in the darkness, she begins to hear a man's voice now speak. Everyone, all humans are family. Everyone around you is family. Humans are family. Do not eat, protect. Nezuko is hearing this. What is going on? She's confused. She's at a loss for words now, not able to speak. Unable to speak entirely, as if she's muzzled. She sees the woman one last time, and the woman smiles as she gets right in Nezuko's face. We are one. Now wake up. Wake up. Nezuko wakes up and is in complete awe. With a bamboo stick in her mouth, she looks around. It's a small house, nothing she's never seen before. She lives in a small house before, or she used to live in a small house before. She looks at the man right next to him, but it's as if her brain tells her that he is family, that he is grateful, that he is nice, that he must be protected. All of these things are, in a way, soothing Nezuko, not making her overexcited, not making her feel dangerous, not making her feel in danger. She feels fine. All of the stuff that just happened, what was it? But just as she questions this within her own head, it's as if those things that just happened disappear, slip from her mind, and all she knows is now. All she knows is the now. She's, in a way, at a loss for words. Well, words she literally cannot say, but she sits there, and she awaits. And she waits. And she waits some more. But eventually, they would go outside as if time itself skipped over so quickly. Time would be so fast for her, it feels. And she would walk outside with the man that she now sees as family, by the name of Urokodaki. Urokodaki would await and would speak to Nezuko as if she could really understand him, in which Urokodaki is not sure if she really can, but he begins to say that Tanjiro, if he survived the final selection, he'll be arriving very soon. Nezuko would await and then see her very own brother. Tanjiro hasn't seen a Nezuko awakened for so long. The last time he saw her was with a fight with another demon, where she eventually had to sleep for a long time, at least to heal. Nezuko, well, doesn't even know about this. Her mind was such in this weird state. It was this in-between of becoming a demon, now as a demon, the rage of being a demon, and now being a calm demon. She didn't understand it. It's as if her body went into full autopilot, and when she began to speak with Kaguya, well, that was just the in-between. That was just the waiting period. It was perfect. It was a time that she was able to listen to the person she was reincarnated as. After the arrival of Tanjiro, her brother, it seems that there's a euphoria once again. This excitement, this idea that she's happy to be around her brother. I mean, this is obviously something that should be normal. It's her brother. And it's even more potent in terms of family. Yes, she was more or less put in a trance to treat every human like family, but it is even to a more extreme extent in terms of Tanjiro. Maybe it's the hypnosis, maybe it's the power that is stored within Nezuko. Who's to say? Nezuko would then await the sword that Tanjiro would wield, but she would be not thinking about much throughout this time. Sitting, waiting, sleeping, just awaiting the journey that's ahead of them, and eventually she would get her very own little box. A box that she would crawl into, and she would be able to shrink herself as they venture off to whatever is next. Nezuko, in this confinement of the box, would go back to thinking about what she saw, but not being able to pinpoint what it was, as if it's been erased from her memory entirely. But she would be kind of happy with this, walking around with her brother in this little box and this little containment. After some time would pass and finally nighttime would come across, she would be able to step out of the box. But during this time, she felt the rumblings of a fight between Tanjiro and a different demon. Eventually, the demon would get the upper hand on Tanjiro, looking to kick him from behind, but Nezuko would come busting out of the box, landing a kick so strong that it puts a hole in the demon's chest. Nezuko, not even really knowing her own strength, but is obviously outpacing and strength far beyond whatever this demon is. This demon, the swamp demon, is able to create some sort of portals, but Nezuko is so quick, she's able to keep up relatively easily, and it's as if with Nezuko around, the portals that he's beginning to use seem to drain him even more. He's not sure what's going on, and he's confused at why a demon like herself is fighting with a human, but he doesn't know anyways. But Nezuko's strength is uncomprehendable, far beyond this demon, let's just say that. And frankly, that's an understatement. Nezuko would then hear Tanjiro say to hold on, make sure to fight the demon, and don't let him close a portal. Nezuko would do just that, and it's as if the demon really had no choice in it. Nezuko would scratch, claw, and kick this demon as if it were nothing. The demon would try to strike back, but the blows that he hits on Nezuko would do absolutely zero damage. It's as if he's at the bottom of the barrel, which, to be fair, he kind of is. A weakling of a demon, Nezuko would kick him into a wall and continue to beat on him and refuse to allow him to close that little portal, or that little different interdimensional thing that he creates to hold women. Tanjiro would come scaling out from basically this hole, and he would emerge with the woman, or one of the women he was looking for. And when he does, well, Nezuko leaves it to Tanjiro to slice the demon's head off, and Nezuko would then further on protect the woman that they just saved. Nezuko would watch as the demon would pass away and die, and watch as it disintegrates into nothingness. As he watches this, or as she watches this, she's in complete awe about the disintegration and how the monstrous demon, this creepy little fellow, slowly but surely perished away. Nezuko would be happy to save this young woman, treating her like family itself, giving her one big hug, giving her a smile, at least a smile through the bamboo that she's currently biting on, but still, she would hop back in her box soon after and shrink down so she can fit, because the next journey is awaiting her, and the next journey for Tanjiro is awaiting them in general. The crow would begin to speak, and Nezuko would feel as Tanjiro would begin walking. They are headed to a city full of lights, a city that is going to more or less never sleep, a city that maybe a demon could be hiding in. When they arrive, though, Nezuko would be allowed out of the box, and she would sit as Tanjiro would eat some ramen. But from her perspective, she would watch as Tanjiro would put the ramen down as he smells a creature that nearby. Tanjiro would take off, and Nezuko would just sit there waiting, because, well, her older brother told her to. But Nezuko would begin to feel the presence of this being, feeling the presence through whatever power that was gifted to her. She could feel what was going on, the tension, the power, and the struggle. Eventually it would go away. Whatever this creature was, whatever this monster was, began to walk away and leave as if it was trying to keep its cover. Tanjiro would come back and be kind of happy, smiley, and would tell her he apologizes for leaving her alone, eventually leading to the arrival of another demon, Nezuko being able to identify that it is a demon, at least on her own, and realizing and hearing out whatever needs to be said. Nezuko would undoubtedly just follow her brother, eventually leading them into a house. Nezuko would sit down and then eventually lay down and start kicking her feet. She's never really felt a carpet this comfortable and continues to lay down and just spiral, more or less just relaxing, moving around and doing whatever. Tanjiro would then speak to Lady Tamayo more or less about everything that's going on, what's happening, and so on and so forth, and what Nezuko currently is. Nezuko not really listening to much of this, frankly having nothing to truly do with her, but she would be something in the grand scheme of things in terms of trying to cure a demon. Lady Tamayo would say that they need to more or less fight and get blood from the 12 Kizuki, which is something they're definitely going to have to do eventually in the grand scheme of things. After some time would pass though, an attack would happen on the house that they're currently sitting in. Nezuko would watch as her brother fends off this sort of girl that is kicking these dodgeballs at him, eventually leading to them going outside and Nezuko taking on the dodgeball girl. But let's just say this fight isn't that close. Nezuko would kick the ball toward her and it would fly so fast that it would obliterate one of her legs. So quickly, in fact, that Nezuko would get on top of her and more or less kick her torso off of her body. As she does this though, she tries to regenerate, but the regeneration is so slow. How? What's happening? How is this happening? What's going on? Well, whatever Nezuko is subconsciously doing, her attacks are stimulating the demon's body negatively, more or less forcing it to reject the idea of regeneration. In doing this, it gives Tanjiro a chance to actually finish off that demon, leaving it to be a 2 versus 1 against the other demon that's kind of hiding within the trees, sending these arrows toward Tanjiro. With the help of Nezuko, they're able to easily throw the demon off his footing, falling off the tree, leading to Tanjiro also slicing his head off. This is the time though that Tanjiro can realize that Nezuko's whatever power she has, strength as a demon, maybe it's demon versus demon conflict, it's actually restricting the regeneration of these demons. But Lady Tamayo would make it clear that regeneration has nothing to do with demon on demon conflict. Just because Nezuko is fighting another demon doesn't mean it's inherently harder for them to regenerate. It must be something else. Well, that would be true. Lady Tamayo would take blood from Nezuko, not too much of course, but just enough, more or less saying that she'll try to figure that out, but it might be unknown to all of them. They might not have anything or any clue in terms of medicine and so on to figure something like that out. But still, a cure for a demon or a reversion from demon back to human could definitely be an occurrence, so that's what she's going to be working on. This leads to Nezuko and Tanjiro saying their goodbyes and her hopping back in the box, and she would stay in that said box for a good while, not leaving it at the request of Tanjiro. Yes, Nezuko might be an asset, and yes, Nezuko might be extremely strong, but that is still his baby sister. He doesn't want her to get hurt by any means, so he tells her to stay in the box, in which she will do just that during this new mission. She doesn't exactly know what's happening and throughout the box, but for some reason it's as if she could feel what's going on around her, as if she could see through the box, but not necessarily perfectly. It's as if this small glimmer, as if she has a small peephole on a solid wood wall, in which she doesn't, but it's as if she can feel and kind of mildly see in a fog what's going on around, in which Tanjiro fends off and kills demons, as this yellow-haired boy does exactly the same. It's weird. Another one with a weird little boar mask? Is that an animal? Nezuko's not so sure. But eventually, after all of it is said and done, and after kind of hearing and seeing and kind of knowing what's going on in general, well, she begins to feel the box rocking, moving, and begins to hear two people fighting over it, over and over and over again, having this great conflict, not allowing one another to more or less get within the box. Hearing a young man more or less saying that Tanjiro is protecting this box, so it must be important, and this other person saying that he wants to be let inside the box. Eventually, this boar mask fellow would be slammed into a tree. more or less giving him a mild concussion as he passes out. But still, he lets go of the box, and the box would be then unscathed. Nezuko, extremely confused and actually taken back by this, doesn't actually know what's happening. Nezuko, she just kind of sits there in, her own little piece in her box. And I think all of us would love to have our own little box to be, at peace in. With that said, they begin their journey once again, eventually leading them to a bit of a rest stop. A stop at an old lady that is super, super nice to them, allowing them to stay there, giving them food, and so on and so forth. Nezuko eventually would be allowed out of the box, but Zenitsu would immediately talk about how he wants to more or less marry Tanjiro's sister, in which Nezuko, with kind of a different type of attitude, would send this aura toward Zenitsu as if telling him not to get any closer, more or less giving that, well, very, very strong female feeling. Nezuko would then give this off and make sure to keep Zenitsu away from her, at least at this time, right now. She doesn't want anybody near her, but that is just weird. She would still be relatively nice to him, of course, being that she treats all of them like family, but other than that, she sticks her distance, eventually sleeping in her box, and eventually in the next day would be taken to this so-called forest. For the majority of the time, she sits in her box, sitting there and waiting. But eventually, throughout this time, Tanjiro would get sent flying, and even herself, she would kind of be taken back by this, wondering where and how the heck this even happened. But they would slam into the ground as two voices still are speaking. Nezuko listens in to hear that it's a younger girl's voice and also an older boy's voice, more like that brother and sister type of, connection. Nezuko would listen in, and eventually it would lead to Tanjiro fighting this demon by the name of Rui, actually the lowest of the Kizuki, or the 12 Kizuki. He would be fighting Rui, and it would be obvious that Tanjiro is falling behind relatively quickly at that too. Nezuko would actually await stepping out of the box, but eventually it would lead to the box being kind of ruined in a way. It would be cut open and Nezuko would fall out, and Rui would see this, saying that that's his demon sister and that sister will be his now, especially after sensing how strong Nezuko potentially is and would string her up in the trees. Nezuko would feel this and would hear a voice at the back of her head speaking to her. But this voice would feel too familiar, way too comforting. This isn't the one that she was trying to remember. This isn't the one she was trying to think of. This is her mother. Hearing her mother's voice, everything begins to click once again. She's strung up on a tree as her eyes would open. Tanjiro would yell, more or less to let his sister go right now. Rui would mock him as he takes his eyes off of Nezuko. You really think it's that simple? Both of you will die here. If she decides that, she doesn't want to be my sister, both of you will die here. Rui makes this abundantly clear, telling Tanjiro over and over again that he won't do anything about it. Rui would then look up, and whatever his strings were holding, whatever his webbing was holding, is no longer there. The tree that Nezuko was tapered on, the tree that she was stuck to by the webbing or the strings that he was holding her by, she's no longer there. She's behind him, standing there, menacingly. Nezuko, slightly taller, slightly bulkier, her nails sharper, razor, and her eyes change this color from that sweet color that it used to be to this vicious white-like color, this cloudy color. She now sees everything. Veins popping out from the sides of her eyes as if it's straining her eyes as well. She bites down on her bamboo stick as it shatters to a million pieces into dust. Rui would slowly turn around, but just as he does, she grabs him by the throat and immediately tilts her head, looking toward Tanjiro and then looking back toward Rui, and stating, "You will never hurt my brother." A rod would come sending from the palm of the hand that she's holding Rui with straight on his neck. And as it does, and as it connects through his neck, his body begins to disintegrate, neutralizing itself entirely, as if the restriction, every hit that Nezuko does, restricts the healing. And this alone, this power that she conjured up from not only rage, but on not only the motivation from her mother, but on top of that, the want to protect her brother, just brought out even more strength that she did not know of. In a flash, she would see the face of Kaguya in front of her, but it would disappear just as quickly as the ashes disappeared from Rui himself. Rui is now dead. Tanjiro watches as Nezuko killed him, and he's in complete shock. Nezuko would step forward in some menacing and terrifying way, but then would collapse, shrinking down to a very small size, a baby's like size, and would crawl over toward Tanjiro and lay down on his leg, and she would begin to sob, and then eventually fall asleep. Tanjiro was in complete shock. What even happened? How did this happen? But Nezuko would be silent. Eventually, Nezuko would be taken back toward the Demon Slayer mansion and would still be kind of sleeping, at least at this moment. It drained her just a little bit. Not to the point where she was super injured and she had to sleep for months on end, but it drained her just enough where it took the journey back and another day for her to more or less rest up entirely. But this would be perfect timing for when she's sitting in her box, awaiting voices. It seems that the Hashira are speaking with Tanjiro, and they're speaking very, very hateful toward him, talking not only about Nezuko, but also talking about Tanjiro himself. The Wind Hashira would then speak up, talking about how every demon is dangerous and every last one should be killed, eventually stabbing into the box of Nezuko. This would then warrant Tanjiro immediately fighting the Wind Hashira and slamming his head on his own head. The Wind Hashira would stagger down, but stagger back to his feet as the box that he stabbed into was now empty. Nezuko would stand at the line, the border of the shade and the sun, staring towards the Wind Hashira. The Wind Hashira says that, "You see, she's aggressive. She wants to kill me." He slices his own hand and shows the blood, and walks toward Nezuko, telling her to more or less eat some. But Nezuko refuses, not even flinching, not even drooling toward that said blood. He would walk toward the sunlight and would still more or less say that she's a demon at heart anyways. She'll crumble in the sun. She'll be a detriment. It doesn't matter if she killed a demon that was relatively strong. It doesn't matter. She's still a demon. She's no demon slayer. Demon slayers don't die to the sun. As he says this though, Nezuko, at a full rage, still wanting to hit the man, would walk forward. Tanjiro would scream out, telling Nezuko to stop, but Nezuko wouldn't listen. She takes one step, and then 2 steps into the sun. The sun would then make her skin glisten, and it would seem as if she's about to disintegrate. But then the glistening would go all over her body, and then stop, staying there, not moving. Her body would be fine. Everyone is in shock. What the hell just happened? Everybody is at a loss for words. Nezuko is immune to the sun. Tanjiro doesn't even know what to say. The Hashira don't even know what to say. But eventually it's decided that Nezuko was allowed to stay here and it would be okay. Throughout this time, she wouldn't be bothered much. She would sit there and watch as Tanjiro would either train or she would just more or less hang out herself. Not speaking much, but speaking when she, so chose to. Her speeches would more or less be simple things, asking how Tanjiro is and rejecting Zenitsu here and there. but in the nice, cute way Nezuko would always do. But still, she would await. She would await the next mission that they would go on. And as the time would pass on and as the time would pass by, the next mission would be clear. Nezuko would be put back in her box and they would arrive at a train. They would await on this train as Nezuko exits the box to sit down. Sitting down and awaiting as more or less these frail demons show up that Rengoku himself, a very impressive Hashira, especially captivating the eyes of Nezuko, being shocked about how strong he truly is, Rengoku would kill those demons relatively easily, eventually leading to all of them falling asleep. Actually, the demons were kind of a decoy. Sitting there, Nezuko would try to wake Tanjiro up over and over again, even headbutting him one time, and she would begin crying as she bled. She would headbutt him again using her blood demon art as flames would erupt. And maybe, just maybe, this will wake Tanjiro up. And, well, it does just that. But it wasn't that alone. The first headbutts actually helped. A connection with whatever power Nezuko holds, being that from Kaguya, it actually made a connection with Tanjiro, making him realize where he was and eventually leading him outside of that dream realm. Luckily, Nezuko is given the instructions to defend the passengers there that are currently asleep and that can't defend themselves. So she does just that, sitting there fighting off anything she has to, or at least awaiting to fight off, and that would be these tentacle-like things after Tanjiro forces Enmu into a desperate situation, or a different situation. She continues to fend them off, and eventually the fighting would stop after a long time. Zenitsu would be fighting throughout the carts, including herself and Rengoku, but eventually the fighting would stop after about a couple hours, maybe a little bit less. But luckily, the winner is themselves. Tanjiro and Inosuke were able to cut off the head of Enmu, taking down one of the 12 Kizuki. Everything seems to be completely fine. Nezuko continues helping out around and doing as much as possible, helping with getting people to safety. But eventually, well, someone else would show up. Nezuko would get chills down her spine and would realize who was approaching. It's Akaza, the upper 3 demon, a demon that would put fear into almost every demon slayer, but not Rengoku. Rengoku stands there ready for a fight, ready to fight Akaza. Nezuko watches as Tanjiro wants to help Rengoku, wants to save him, help save him, do whatever he can to help Rengoku in this time, watching, and then Nezuko realizes something, realizes that Akaza is charging towards Tanjiro, about to fight him, about to hurt him, and something snaps. Growing in size once again, her nails sharpen, and everything changes. She begins to walk forward toward where Akaza is, grabbing Tanjiro before getting to Akaza and saving Tanjiro from getting hit. Rengoku's in complete shock, looking at Nezuko. But Nezuko would walk toward Akaza and also Rengoku as her eyes begin to change to that white cloudy color once again. Horns begin to grow out of her head, larger than you would possibly imagine, and an eye directly in the middle of her forehead would begin to reveal itself. The power itself could be felt all around them. It seems like Akaza is in complete shock. What is that thing? Akaza tries to finish the fight with Rengoku as quick as possible so he could fight whatever that is, but Nezuko's in front of him already, smashing her foot into Akaza's ribcage so hard it sent him flying toward a tree, but immediately she's in front of him again, grabbing him, dragging him through the ground as she stomps on his face. Nezuko flips him up as it seems like rods come flying toward Akaza. Akaza, out of nowhere, gets these visions, or a flash of a vision of disintegration, as he dodges as quick as possible, trying to avoid these rods. Nezuko would follow up and continue fighting with Rengoku. Rengoku, seeing that they seem to have the upper hand. Rengoku uses this upper hand to try and cut down Akaza's neck, but can't. Akaza has to avoid the more or less Rengoku killing him, Rengoku ending his life, in which when he avoids that, he kills Rengoku instantly, smashing his hand into Rengoku's chest when the opportunity is given. But just as he does this, Rengoku grabs onto Akaza's arm, and immediately a rod, a black rod, comes sending through Akaza's arm, and then his torso, and then every piece of him, into his feet, his legs, and then eventually his head. His whole body begins to more or less deteriorate, disintegrate, and Nezuko comes over, smashing Akaza into the ground as more rods keep basically flying through his body. She stands over him in a complete, utter, serious monotone, speaks to him, saying that there is nobody out there that he's going to hurt ever again. Akaza had to even break his own code. He didn't want to fight women, didn't want to hit girls, but even this person right here is different. Akaza would look up and he would no longer see Nezuko, seeing this woman with flowing white hair, horns on the top of her head, and a giant red eye on her forehead. But this woman was different, bigger than Nezuko, far bigger, and seems to be more omnipotent, seems to be like God themselves. Akaza would be in shock as his body would slowly but surely fade into the wind. And as this occurs, Muzan could tell that one of his top demons have just been slayed, and even the crows themselves begin to basically speak, saying that Akaza, the upper 3 demon, has been killed. Rengoku collapses to the ground, entirely injured, a hole through his chest, dying slowly but surely, trying to hold himself together, but out of nowhere flames begin to spark, and Rengoku's in shock. He can breathe. He can heal. He's focusing on his breathing now, healing more and more. And Nezuko looks at him and smiles as she sits down, turning into the smaller version of herself, the eye closing up that was once there, the vision that she once had now going clear, and now she looks like the sweet little girl she was not too long ago. Rengoku's in shock, holding his chest. Of course, the pain still lingers, but he questions how she was able to do that. She kind of just lays there and sighs, and then passes out, falling asleep, as this did take a ton out of her, and there is no training she's really gone through to restrict this. Let's just say Rengoku is happy to be alive, and so is everybody else. And what even brings more excitement is the death of Akaza, putting the demons on notice, not only the demons themselves, but Muzan himself could even feel fear. Nezuko would be brought back to the Hashira mansion, and she would be, relatively celebrated for what she's done. Tanjiro, Rengoku, Inosuke, and Zenitsu would be celebrated as well. They not only took down Enmu, someone of the 12 Kizuki, eventually leading to the takedown of Akaza himself. Nezuko is truly part of the Demon Slayer Corp, is truly a Demon Slayer. The missions continue on and continue to collide ahead. Nezuko would go to the entertainment district with Tanjiro and also Zenitsu and Inosuke, but let's just say this fight was not the same. When Daki was fighting Tanjiro, eventually leading to Nezuko intervening, there would be far more brutality than just a stomp on the face. Nezuko would beat Daki bad, so bad, that it would force her brother to emerge, but even the appearance of her brother would not be enough. The 2 demons that were currently there would be expelled, would be drowned in their own blood, the blood of even a demon. They would fall, be slaughtered, and Muzan would watch as the 12 Kizuki would crumble, collapse. Himself, Kokoshibo, Doma, and a couple others, some of the higher tier demons, now put on notice that there's one of themselves, a demon like them, that is slaughtering others. And there's rumors through the eyes of demons themselves that she has conquered the sun, a demon of perfection, but far, far greater than even perfection itself. It's as if she is what Muzan wants to be. She is a god. This is when the demon god Nezuko Otsutsuki, was truly born. What does this mean for the other demons and the demons that lay wake, the ones that truly await the final battle with the demon slayers? Well, let's just say that's a story for another day, and the story of demon god Nezuko Otsutsuki will end here. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, make sure to leave a sub, and make sure to leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And a little promo, if you like Spotify and you want to check it out, my what ifs on Spotify at least, check the links in the description. You can see that there. I'll slowly be uploading all my videos to Spotify, so if you want to check them out, go right ahead. I hope y'all enjoyed and hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.